Yeah, we good? Mic check. Okay, cool. So, good afternoon, everyone. Just before I introduce our next speakers, I just wanted to sort of note that we're now exactly halfway through this year's Detour Ahead program. And it's good to see the students that are on campus together from across the cluster and to be engaged by such a wide range of topics. Hopefully you've seen the lectures to date. I've certainly caught some really interesting ones. One of the kind of concepts of Detour is to try and literally kind of change possibly the direction that you're traveling in, or at least give you some diversion. That's a kind of key experience as a university student, hence the name. And, you know, often it's kind of fleeting kind of or chance encounters with people that do that. And just while we're here today as the cluster, I just wanted to quickly just maybe perhaps turn to the person to the left or the right of you if you don't know them and just say hello. Looks like you're all kind of grouped together as you sometimes normally do. But I could see some sort of mingling with our speakers going on just before, and that's exactly the kind of the right thing to do, isn't it? It's kind of utilizing the cluster, engaging networks. And in a way that kind of leads me on to our next guests. You know, as a cluster, we're a creative community, and collaboration and peer-to-peer learning and encouragement is really essential. And to exemplify that idea of mutual support, networking, and collaboration, we've invited youth culture magazine Guap to join us today. So we've got Elsie and TJ. Guap is dedicated to uplifting emerging creatives and giving them opportunities when they need it most. So please join me in welcoming TJ and Elsie to UEL.
Thank you. Hey guys.
Hi.
You guys can hear us okay? Yeah, I can hear myself, so you guys can hear me. So yeah, as Andrew said, my name is Elsie and this is Terna.
Yeah.
And we're here for the Detour Ahead program, again representing Guap. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm Terna. I like to go by TJ though. I'm the fashion editor at Guap magazine, and I'm also a photographer, and I do photography work for Guap as well.
And I am Elsie, and I'm a community manager at Guap, looking after our community of creatives. This thing is slow, by the way, so oh, maybe I'll stand here.
So our presentation today is going to look at the roles that we play at Guap and how this feeds into their overall vision of helping emerging creatives, and also outline how we got into the industry and provide a roadmap that you guys can personalize for yourself. So Guap magazine is a youth-led media platform dedicated to showcasing, discovering and nurturing diverse and emerging talent. Guap was founded in 2015 by Jide and Ibrahim, and they met at university. And Guap is a print and online magazine. We used to be a quarterly print magazine, but now we just have one big issue at the end of the year, and we're on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and we also have a website.
Okay, cool. So yeah, just following on from the theme of Detour Ahead, I think it's really important, or really I think inspiring to see the journey of how Guap started and kind of like where we are now. So the journey of Jide and Ibrahim starts in college. The two met when they were in college, and then they ended up going to the same university together. Jide was studying computer science at the time, and was looking to get into like a very corporate city job. And Ibrahim, the other co-founder, he was doing accounting at the time. And so again, like two very different random beginnings. So through the course of their university time, they became, part of a friendship group that ended up working on events together. And so their first event they planned to run together was like a hall party. People would come, like get drinks, dress up, get food. There's like a big group of them that were planning this event together. And it turned out that the event was like a disaster. Like everything that could have gone wrong in that event, like went completely wrong. Like DJs turned up late, food didn't come, etc., etc. And they ended up losing 10K of their student money, of their hard-earned student money on that event. And so, obviously after like a feat like that, most people would give up and be like, well, actually, I'm not doing this again. This is rubbish, da, da, da. But what happened is Judy and Ibrahim found that the two of them worked really well together. And they found that, over the course of that planning, they were the two that were the most consistent, most dedicated, and the most like hardworking out of the group. And so they decided amongst themselves that, okay, we're going to work together and come up with a new venture, which was at the time, Guap magazine in its inception. In its beginnings, Guap magazine started off as like a student magazine where they would go around and like, document creatives within their course, within their university who were doing like cool things. Again, just to provide role models for other young people who were looking to, get into the creative industry. Started in 2015. They were going around to events, taking videos, creating a lot of their own content. In 2018, the magazine then launched its creative marketing agency, which, we were working with Nike, Adidas, a few other companies, on just a lot of like local campaigns, local creative campaigns, creating like video assets or photography stuff, etc., etc. A year later, in 2019, the Guap hired its first team member, which was Terna. Since then, the group has grown so much. We're now at 12 members of staff who are all, getting, monthly pay, as well as we are also hiring at the moment. So we're hoping to take on, I think, 5 more new team members. So, this growing steadily. Where we are now, Guap is now a 6-figure business with Kurt Geiger on our roster, some of our main clients now, alongside doing contracts with Adidas, again, Nike, Converse, etc., etc. And so, from really humble beginnings, the journey it's been 7 years, but, it's been a steady growth journey point. Just gonna point everywhere. Yeah.
Can I take over the clicker?
Yeah, of course you can.
So we're going to tell you guys a bit about ourselves now, and how we got into Guap, who we are, etc. Where am I pointing this? At this? Okay. Okay. Oh.
Jamita.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do the clicker.
Yeah.
Okay, so a bit about me. As I said, I'm the photographer and fashion editor at Guap. I've been taking pictures all of my life, really, but I only really started taking it seriously when I went to uni in Leicester. I bought a camera with like a grant that I got, and I also found a local photography studio in Leicester where I did an internship for a year. In Leicester, I studied media and communications. I left, and if you ask me what I learned on that course, I couldn't tell you, but it was a good course in terms of like, it was a good time in terms of like meeting people and discovering myself and discovering what I liked. And then after studying at Leicester, I then did a master's in fashion photography at the University of Leicester, not University of Leicester, at the University of the Arts London, and I went to London College of Fashion specifically. I like going to exhibitions, cultural events, parties, and I like socializing, but at the same time, I'm also a bit of an ambivert, so I also like a lot of time to myself just to like recharge and reflect. And some of my inspirations are listed there, but specifically the first photographer's work I can remember seeing that really had me in awe was William Eggleston. Like, his use of colors was just so amazing to me. And then years later, I was like, the next photographer that I can remember having that same effect on me was Micaiah Carter. And then Tyler Mitchell as well is a huge inspiration. I got to meet him last year. That was sick. And then Nadine Ijmere as well. So that's a bit about me. And I'm going to go through kind of like my career roadmap because it's been quite unconventional. So as I said, I studied at uni in Leicester. I started studying in 2015. And then I left in July 2018. And when I left, I knew that I didn't really want to apply for a grad job because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I thought, I'm going to take a year out, which I wish that I took out before I started uni. But I was like, okay, I'm leaving now. I'll take a year out before I think of applying for any sort of jobs. And then someone that I met on Twitter told me about Guap. And at the same time, I'd seen Guap's Lead the Revolution cover. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's got like the receipts on there. It's got a bunch of people in there, and I just thought it was such a sick cover. So I was looking to improve my photography skills, and I heard of a workshop that Guap was doing in collaboration with the ICA, and I went down and I met Jide there, who's one of the co-founders, but I didn't know who he was. But we just started talking, and I mentioned that I'd seen the cover because I thought it was so sick. And he said, thank you. And I was like, why are you saying thank you? And then he said he was the co-founder. So when I heard that, I shot my shot and I was like, do you need a personal assistant? Do you need any help? And he said then, when I asked him that I was hired, but I wasn't hired. Like, I had to run him down for a few months after that. I gave him my little business card that my dad had made for me when I was like going out. And then after that, so that was in September 2018. And then a month after that, I started doing Guap social media. And when I started doing it, we were on 7K followers. And then we got to 10K followers. And that took us about maybe like 4 or 5 months. And I realized that I hated doing social media. So after that, I kind of moved on to doing like client campaigns for Guap. And then after that, I became Guap's first employee. That was in like 2019. Moved on to doing like projects like involving production, content creation, and photography. And then in June 2020, I became Guap's studio manager. And in July, I became their fashion editor. So that all happened over like a year and a half. As Guap grew, I just kind of grew with them. So as I said, I'm a photographer. And this is some of like the work I've done. When I started out, I didn't really set out to have like a particular style when it came to my photography. But looking back over my work, I've realized that there's themes that I like to explore. I love like color, I love beauty, I love amplifying Black talent, I love documenting culture. And those are kind of themes that just kind of run throughout my work. And I think some of the themes that are really important here are Black people as beautiful, because growing up, I just didn't see images like that. And that for me and some people that I knew affected like our self-image and stuff. So now that I'm a photographer, I feel like photography is a bit of like a mode of communication for me, where I can kind of communicate things like that. And present a counter narrative to things that I saw growing up. We can go to the next one. Yes, this is a shoot that we did with Mike and Priscilla from Love Island. I think the next one. Okay, so this is kind of like my process when it comes to photography. I get inspiration from everywhere and anything, and I'm quite a curious person. So if something sparks my interest, then I'll kind of like follow it and do a bit of research on it. And then the research will help me to like put a concept together, or sometimes it's like the other way around. So it might be like I get a concept and then I do research to build out the concept more. And yeah, then I'll do like a detailed mood board of like a concept that I've come up with, and I'll think about like what I want to say through the styling, through the makeup, through hair, maybe colors, the setting. And if I have time, then this like the initial idea or concept, I'll iterate it a few times. But usually I just go with my like initial gut feeling or initial idea and kind of just run with it. And then we put a team together and execute it. So this is for like personal shoots and also shoots that I do for Guap. And some things that I think are really important here to my process, I would say are copying. One thing like I always say is copying gets a really bad rep, but it's essential to creativity and to finding your flow. As long as you're kind of copying to find your own style, I think it's okay. And if you are copying and there's a bit of difference to it, you will be able to build on that, if that makes sense. I think Virgil said like, take something that's been done and change it 3% and you have something new. So that's one thing that's really important to my process. And yeah, also, sorry, scrap it as well. Sometimes if you have an idea, it might not be good, and don't be afraid to don't think you won't have any more ideas or any more good ideas. Like, don't be afraid to throw it in the bin and just start again. And also be unapologetic about what you do and how you do it. So as I said, at Guap, I'm the fashion editor, and my role privileged to do, honestly, because when I was growing up, I didn't see anyone that looked like me in this position, and now to be in this position, I don't really take it lightly, because I remember when I was starting out, and I just wanted someone to notice what I was doing or give me an opportunity. And honestly, the guys at Guap have done that for me. So now that I'm in the position to do the same thing, yeah, I don't take it lightly. I'd also say that my strength is understanding the significance and impact of emerging and established Black-owned brands and covering their stories. I don't know if anyone saw or knows the brand Cortez. Anyone know the brand Cortez?
Raise your hands if you do. Put your hands down if you don't. No? Oh,
You
yeah.
know the brand Cortez? Did you hear about what happened with the bolo jackets? Yeah, so things like that, is important to cover, because it might not necessarily be covered elsewhere, but it's very impactful to culture. Also, my role as fashion editor, I put together editorials, and through this, because we're featuring a lot of emerging talent and designers, especially in the fashion section, with the editorials, we try and communicate what they're about or what they do through the styling, the hair, the setting, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, this year at Guap, as well as editorials and writing, we're looking to do a lot more events and activations. So for me in fashion, that looks like pop-up showrooms, fashion shows, panel talks, and just spaces where people can come together and meet and network and have a good time. So it'd be good to see you guys there. Keep a lookout for that. We're going to be doing a lot of events this year. Yeah, I think next slide. So when I was starting out as fashion editor, I had zero experience in terms of being a fashion editor. And it was hard to find out what a fashion editor did, because I didn't personally know of anyone else that's a fashion editor. And even Googling, you can't really find the information like that. So I thought I would put together what a week for me might look like. So honestly, it consists of a lot of emails. Emails is a big part of this, just communicating with people, writing articles on what's happening in fashion, doing research for the articles, research for editorials, then developing the concept, and then contacting the team and putting it together, which comes under production and stuff. And then the PC creative direction, PC campaign shoot, that's personal shoots I do in my own time outside of Guap's time. So because I'm a photographer as well, I also do I also have personal clients that I'll do shoots with and campaigns and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what a week for me looks like. And I think, okay, yeah, so the last thing I wanted to say on what I do at Guap is that when I started at Guap, I was volunteering, and I was volunteering for about a year and a half. So whilst I started out at Guap, I was working at a nightclub, and I was also doing lots of agency jobs, and that's what funded my, that's what allowed me to volunteer at Guap and also fund myself. So it wasn't until a year and a half into the job that I started getting a full-time salary from Guap. And I just wanted to put these figures up here of what the average photographer salary in the UK is. Does anyone want to take a guess of what the average salary is?
Raise your hands for the first one. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yes, that's right. It's 25,134. So if you're just starting out, like the salary might be between 20,000 to 25,000, and then will increase as you get more experience. And same for the average fashion editor salary. The average is actually 31,500. I said that, £31,500, according to like talent.com, something like that. And yeah, when I first started, like I wasn't thinking about money at all, and I didn't see money for a long time. So I would just bear that in mind if maybe you want to do a creative career, that you might have to do something to support your creative career before you actually start making money from it. And yeah, that's me.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, the last thing I wanted to say, or wanted you guys to take away from this, if anything, is that sometimes the author, like doing things the way it's meant to be done or the conventional way, isn't always going to be the path for you. So if things aren't working like in a conventional way, don't be afraid to do things a bit differently or take like a unorthodox path. And as long as you are taking ownership of your decisions, like you'll be happy with the choices that you're making.
Yeah. Okay, so now about me. Hopefully you guys, not boring you guys, but yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on with my journey into this industry. I am the community manager at Guap, and again, it's been a very long journey to get into that role. Before I was a community manager at Guap, I was also a nurse. So I was working throughout the pandemic in intensive care as a nurse, which was very crazy and interesting. Aside from that, I'm also doing my master's in health and international development at LSE. And I also run sex ed workshops in schools, like secondary schools. I'm also a very avid hobbyist. Like I play saxophone, I go to dance lessons, I will do knitting if I can, anything to keep myself active and engaged, and again, like more in line with myself as a creative. So I think is what's really important, that you're expressing yourself as a creative and pushing yourself and challenging yourself. My interests personally are health and well-being, community development, and also the use of arts and international development. That's something I'm really passionate about. I'm doing my dissertation on currently. I'm looking at how the arts can be used to propel social change, social development around the world. So if you guys see me, writing stuff, please read it and that kind of stuff. Yeah, next slide, please, thank you. So as a community manager at Guap, my main role is supporting emerging creatives, horizontal collaborations, workshops and events, and local community initiatives. So what that means, so for the supporting emerging creatives, so stuff that we've done before was this opportunity here where we gave 5 creatives the opportunity to go backstage at a Ruben Selby show, where they were able to see the behind the scenes, meet Ruben Selby the designer and get involved. Terna was there actually as well. Horizontal collaboration, so collaborating with brands that are on our level or that are in our peer group. Workshops and events. So in August, I ran an open call exhibition, which gave 25 creatives the opportunity to exhibit for the first time. I think we've got over 250 applications for only 25 spaces. So I think it was just a real insight into the fact that a lot of students, especially the pandemic, are looking for opportunities to showcase their work and to meet other creatives. And then again, local community initiatives. So we've started this year doing workshops in schools, secondary schools again, and working with other organizations like National Prison Radio, and other organizations trying to reach out, and share creativity in places where it's not always, seen. Often creativity is seen as like a privilege, the privilege to be able to spend time and do art and go to galleries. Not everyone has that social privilege to do that. So I think it's really important to share the arts wherever we can in spaces where it's not always seen. My roadmap. So I actually started dancing when I was 14. And again, another hobby of mine that, I was really into. And from there, I met a range of theater goers, events makers, it's not a word, but events makers, musicians, etc., etc. And that was kind of my first introduction to the creative industry and meeting other creatives that were, again, giving this their full-time attention. From there, I ended up meeting someone who needed help with their event. Again, I was maybe 16 at the time, helping someone run their first comedy show. It was a multimedia comedy show where they had theater involved and stuff like that. And at one of the meetings that we had, I met my older sister's best friend who had a PR company at the time. Again, really random. And she was like, oh my God, you were so good in the meeting. Do you come and work for me? I need an assistant. And I was like, yes. So I was working for her for about 5 years. And I was doing like PR stuff. So working on campaigns, building our business list, and working with events, running events, stuff like that. At that time, I was also doing my nursing. So I think maybe 2 or 3 years later, I then went into nursing because I wanted to like be able to give back tangibly and be able to give back in terms of people's health and development. You know, that's again a big interest of mine, health and well-being. Again, around that time, maybe when I was like 21 now at this point. So after doing like events in my PR job and having that experience, and again, networking, going to events, etc., one of my friends that I had met asked me to help them run a Black History Month festival. It was a week-long festival, and because I had made so many friends, like going to events and parties and stuff like that, people kind of knew me as someone that, you know, had connections in random places. So they asked me to help curate the festival for them, and I ended up, you know, doing all the work myself. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own company. This event is now my event. It's no longer your event. It's my event now because I'm the one that's doing the work. So I created my own charity, my own company. And from there, I started, you know, doing local workshops, creating products, and stuff like that. After about maybe 2 or 3 years of, again, running art workshops, history workshops at local schools, community centers, I ended up coming across the guys at Guap. I was helping out someone manage their store in Peckham. At the time, Peckham Levels were giving away like discounted community space for local creatives. And so I was helping to manage a creative program at one of the spaces. So I was running an Easter program and ended up doing a music art exhibition for some artists that were coming over to perform. And the guys, Guap, were sharing office, like one of the downstairs spaces. So I asked them, like, hey guys, should I be a media partner? And they was like, yes. And then from there, we became friends and started working together. And over the course of our relationship, I was doing like more and more community events with them, like doing like random book clubs with them or vision boarding workshops, stuff like that. And obviously we became friends and stuff like that. And I think after a while, we'd gone on Rwanda we went to Rwanda on a random holiday. They were going to Rwanda to do some work, and I was like, can I come? They was like, yes, I came. And eventually, because of the work that I was doing in the community, they then offered me the job as their first community manager. And again, to begin with, I think I was only working 1 day a week. And in February last year, they gave me that 1 day a week, and I was doing, again, like all the events, the exhibition, the call-outs, the funding, etc., within that 1 day a week. And then from October, I then left my nursing job because I was also doing my master's. Again, it was a lot to handle. But then from this year, I've now been made full-time. So I'm now the full-time community manager at Guap. And we've got some like really cool things that's coming up, which I'll be working on as well. But again, it's just that really random journey from nursing to community manager at magazine. You know, it's a really random journey, but I think for me, the highlights, for me, key things that I've noticed in my personal process is the first thing being, one, being willing to help people. I was speaking to, what's your name again? Simran? I was speaking to Simran before, and she was speaking about, you know, being willing, like, helping her friend out with a fashion shoot. Like, for me, that's really how my journey started. I was willing to help people with their events, willing to offer my services, willing to do random jobs here and there for people within my community or within my, you know, peer group. And from there, that then became experience, then became exposure, which then became, you know, something to add onto my CV. The next thing was, again, like being willing to create my own. Like, people would come to me, or people knew me as the person that was willing to help people. That was because of my initiative, my willingness to help, my willingness to be involved and be proactive. And from there, that then, I guess, transferred onto me, where I was then willing to do my own stuff. I was willing to do my own events. I had all the experience of working with other people, so I was like, I'll just do it for myself now. And that willingness to like really actualize your ideas is, again, it's essential in any creative, or just essential in life, to be honest. And again, all of that acts as experience, exposure, and again, a banging portfolio. And finally, the thing is that, again, like finding your community. Like, the more you interact with people, support people, get people into your visions, etc., the more your community grows and builds. And before you know it, you know, you're like the influencer babe, if I'm joking there, but like you become that person that people go to, that people think of at the forefront of your mind. You know, a lot of the creative industry and industries in general is a lot of nepotism in the sense that whoever people know or think of when it comes to needing something, that's what they'll go to. You know, so it's really about positioning yourself as that person that everyone thinks about. This is the person that I'll go to for this. This is the person, or a photographer is that person. Oh, this person is the best person. Do you know what I mean? So positioning yourself in a position where people come to you and think of you like first or second at least, do you know what I mean, as someone to go to if they need help or support when it comes to like whatever you're trying to get into. And so yeah, like I think now especially like the people, everyone was in, I don't know how's everyone's Christmas holiday was. Mine was great. I went to Ghana. It was amazing. Thanks for asking. It was lit. I think for me, a key highlight of that trip was the fact that all of us were all like work peers. So it's like people that are doing radio, people that are doing events, people that are doing creative scene, like so many different things. All of us were there together. And it's because we had managed to build our community with ourselves, by ourselves, for ourselves. We're now able to sustain ourselves and go on holidays and live the best life and, you know, take trips and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's because we really built ourselves. And a lot of us know each other from those really like early beginnings from university days, where we're now like 10 years later, we're here like, and we have our own industry essentially. My week is, again, a lot of emails, and a lot of emails, a lot of meetings, a lot of planning, development work. I also have university. And yeah, I think I try to say that me going to an event is part of my work, and I'm gonna stand on it as it is. You know, going to people's events, supporting people, being there, you know, having my own hobbies, again, I think is really important to the creative life. I think the creative life is one that is really full-time, in the sense that as a creative, you are the art, in a sense. Like, all your thoughts, your ideas, they all become and form part of your art. Your network becomes part of your art, becomes part of your outreach. And so I think it really is a full-time thing. Then also having time for like soft life, reading, you know, doing facial stuff like that is also really important. We know that a lot of creatives, especially, don't always have that balance when it comes to like self-care, that eating, exercise, etc., etc. So I think I really make it a point for me to have that into my schedule and to make sure I'm looking after myself and being holistic in the way that I treat myself. So the next question, or kind of the trivia, how much is the creative industry worth? I think a lot of people, especially for myself when I was growing up, you know, it's like, oh, you're gonna be an artist, what's that? What's it gonna pay you? You're gonna be broke, la la la. When actually, does anyone wanna guess how much the creative industry is worth? No? No guesses? No, it's actually 58 billion in the UK. That's quite a large number, you know, and there's so many jobs within the creative industry that range from being a fine artist to being someone that does production, you know, someone that rigs stages, or someone that, you know, there's so many jobs within the industry, like you can't even fathom how much opportunity there is for anyone that wants to get into it. And so just an encouragement that, you know, no matter what your interests are, whether it's, you know, stamp collecting or it's taking photos, there is an industry there for you within the space. Oh yeah, you can skip past that point. No, you can skip past it. No, you can, yeah. Yeah, no, forward. Yeah. Thank you. And then,
so that's basically the whole presentation. But for me, I just wanted to put some like thinking points for you if you want to get into any sort of media, fashion, or photography. Is to think of why you consume fashion media, what you want to see in fashion media, what the role of fashion media is and how it impacts the fashion system, and what are the barriers to access. If anyone wants to kind of like have a discussion about these questions now, I'd love to hear your thoughts or opinions and have a discussion about it. But if not, you can like just these are just some thinking points for you to think about when you're maybe thinking about the path you want to take.
I don't know, how much time do we have?
Plenty.
Thank you.
Huh? You got time.
Oh, cool. We got time. Yeah. And then I guess we go back to my question, or if we go to the next slide, some other questions that you guys can start to think about for yourselves as well are like, yeah, what are your current skills or personal strengths? Like, are you someone that's quite proactive, or are you more of a supporter? You know, there's space for each, and everyone has to be an entrepreneur. Some people can just be employees, and we need both, you know. So yeah, like, what are your skills and your strengths? What are the strengths and assets of those in your friendship group? Like, who's better at what? Who can do what? And also like the weaknesses, like who isn't so good at maybe planning and who is, so you can pair those people up, you know, like looking at everyone's strengths and weaknesses as a team. What activities are you currently doing that excite you and that add value? You know, for me, dancing was great for me because it allowed me a lot of freedom. And even today, 10 years later, again, it's something that I love and I go back to and I keep on using as a sense of like self-refreshment. And then finally, what are the next steps that you can take from today? So whether it's, you know, calling a friend and being like, hey, we're doing a shoot tomorrow, or if it's going to be starting up your Instagram page, like what things that you can do today to make sure that you're, again, like just investing in yourself and believing in yourself tangibly. So yeah, I'll leave you with those questions, and then I guess we can have a Q&A in a bit.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
You can reach us here on social media, and then like here's our emails. If you have like questions, anything we could assist you with, even if that's just like advice, or we also take like submissions for our website and also photography submissions. So anything you think, there's like so many ways to get involved with Guap. So yeah, hit us up.
I can confirm that because I just sort of sent out an email into the void. I didn't quite know who was going to pick it up or how it would, you know, get redirected, but then we got in touch, didn't we? So I think that's a really key part of Detour, is actually when you meet people in person as well, you kind of realize that they are maybe just sort of one step away. And there's so much in your presentation that reflects some of the things that we've been saying. But I want to kind of open it up to the audience. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions. I'll chuck the mic at you. If you want, you can chuck it. It's quite good fun.
Is that meant to be a mic?
You can
I was wondering what this was. Yeah, any questions? Don't be shy.
Yeah, honestly, don't be shy. Like, I'm only 26. Only. How old is everyone here? 18, 19, 20, 24, mature students?
I'm 25.
22? 32, again, 32, you have mature students here, yeah? So yeah, feel free to ask us questions. We're basically all the same age, all of us, so don't feel shy.
There's no stupid questions either, just anything you feel like you want to know.
Yeah? Should we dash it?
Yeah, chuck the mic.
Do you have any tips for networking and getting over like how to approach people?
Oh, I'll let you start.
Yeah, for me, I think I had to go to a series of like really rubbish networking events for me to get comfortable with the idea of the fact that it's that barrier that you think is there between you and another person doesn't actually exist. And that it really is as easy as saying, oh my gosh, I like your shoes, or oh, I love your hair, or what do you think about this event? You know, it's as simple as that. And from there, conversations flow, you know what I mean? But then I think it's also about putting yourself at events or positions where you are going to meet people that you actually want to network with. So maybe not go into like one random bar in East End London, do you know what I mean? And be like, oh, let's network here. But maybe like go into places that actually interest you. And again, like just be willing to like stay behind, have a conversation with someone and not absorb yourself so much. And oh my gosh, people think I'm stupid, people think I'm weird. You know what I mean? And just open yourself up.
I think off of what Elsie said about just putting yourself in certain places and events, one thing I really realized this year, actually last year, was that sometimes networking doesn't happen immediately. So you might go to an event and you might see people there and you might not talk to them, but you might go to another event and you see them there. Then you go to another event and you see them there. And because you've seen them a few times now, there's a familiarity there where you can go and introduce yourself and have a conversation about maybe the event you've been to or what they're wearing. It doesn't always have to be like you meet someone and you're like bombarding them with questions about how did you get to where you are, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's a lot more of a gradual process. So yeah, that's what I'd say about networking is like be patient and just put yourself in the places that you want to be.
Yeah, I think also like having that kind of like awareness, because it doesn't come naturally for everyone, but having that awareness of being like, oh, maybe am I being a bit creepy now, or should I back off for a little bit? Because I'm someone, when I like someone or I'm interested in someone, I can be very like, hi, let's be friends now. Do you know what I mean? I've had to learn, like, actually, it's okay to chill, like TJ said, like be patient with it and let it grow naturally. I think that's a good point, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's some really nice advice about just being around, and then eventually you'll kind of acclimatize, or someone will have seen you somewhere a few times, and it will just feel like that barrier has disappeared. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. Now just want to understand better how works the collabs you have, like just people just submit their work for you, and then how you guys pick it, how does it work? Like if I have a body of work, can I just send via email? How does it work?
Oh, to contact us?
Yeah, how's they submissions?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you can literally just send either of us an email. And I would say in the email, include as much information as possible. And yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Like, I think we've only had like 3 editors. So social media, arts and culture, fashion and music. And you can imagine like we have like a follower of like over 50 or 30 something K followers. So it's like people underestimate like how many submissions that we get. And often it's like people will just be like, oh, hi, I like your work, and then put nothing else in the email. And it's like, what do you even do with that? But like people that submit work and they have their portfolio, or they have like a mini write-up already, or they have something like a finished product where someone could just be like, okay, this is good to go essentially. Like I can put this out right now and it's good to go. Like stuff like that, it really helps ease the process, if that makes sense. I think also just being consistent and like not being shy to send an email like every week and be like, hi. Or even like using different emails. Hi.
There was quite a lot of emailing on your kind of action plans for the week, wasn't there? So it's a big part of work, really, isn't it? Email or contact via some other means. Networking, getting in touch and discussing things. One thing, Simone, go ahead.
I wanted to ask because, well, I find it difficult now to like organize my week, because sometimes things pop up. I don't know, a client is be like, oh, can we do a shoot next week? And then I'm like, I have already a shoot to do. I'll be like, yeah, why not? Because I already know you from like 2 years and whatever, and I just be nice. I don't want to just say no because. But yeah, I kind of personally find it difficult to like organize it the way you do. It's like, because I also have many emails now to reply. Like even before coming to uni, it's like that. Now I have to wake up 1 hour early just to reply to emails. And I absolutely don't know anymore how to like organize, my life and to get, some time to rest as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the only time I think I get to rest is like Sunday, and that's it. And it's like crazy, it's not really good. So I don't know if you have like a piece of advice for that, because I feel like people like, not just creatives, like in general, I guess it gets really hard at some point to organize everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably the same. I'm very easily distractible. Like me in the office, I think every like 2 hours I might start like screaming random, not screaming, like singing loudly or like disturbing my colleagues, just to like spruce up the day. But for me, I found like having somewhere to work from has been really helpful. Like maybe like going to a coffee shop or going to like the office is really helpful for me. Just having somewhere that I can work from so I can like focus. Then also not being afraid to like segment your time and be like, actually, I'm only going to spend 2 hours or 1 hour on emails. And I'm only going to do it maybe Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and putting that in your email. What's it called? Email automatic response. I can only respond Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Other than that, don't expect a response. Do you know what I mean? Like not being afraid to be selfish with your time. Part of me is like, with regards to like extra shoots and stuff, part of easily is like saying, oh, like take all the shoots that you can get. Just because it's like, again, like, it just adds to your experience. But I think Terna probably be able to give you better advice on that. But for me, I'm like, get out everything. But sometimes I think it's also realizing that not every opportunity is not worthwhile, but not every opportunity is necessarily for you or it's going to push you And so also like being willing to be selective and not feeling bad about being selective about your time. Yeah.
But I feel like I'm kind of like you, you know, like in terms of like keep working, I have to do everything. I know what you mean because I am like that. Yeah.
I don't know if I can give any advice on like on organizing, just because I feel like it's a very personal thing. But I think that the only thing I would say is that you will find your rhythm. Like the more you do it, the more you'll find the rhythm of what works for you. And even when you do find the rhythm, you'll probably fall off, and then you'll come back. Like you'll find the rhythm again, and it will just keep on going like that until you find something that like you can maintain, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's all.
Yeah, well, yeah, it kind of helps. For now, I guess what helps me is like taking naps. That's kind of funny, but like it helps. Like
It does.
eyes on the chat, and then that's it.
that's really
would you describe it as soft life? Was it on your slides?
Soft life, yeah.
Soft life,
I'm an avid napper. I take naps whenever.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to nap. Take it.
Soft life every day for 20 minutes.
Yes.
Has anyone else got any more questions? Check the mic, feel free. One thing that interested me was this idea of the kind of community connection things, and the students have got a module coming up this term, professional life, which is kind of really chimes with a lot of things that you've been talking about. But one of the kind of things that underpins that is UEL give back. So like the idea that students at UEL have something to offer, you know, the local community, let's say. And I think you're doing that quite, you know, it's quite clear in your work that you're doing that. But one thing that came up in the discussion with the students last year was that, you know, to put on a show or to have an event or create a party is also a form of like community give back, isn't it? And it doesn't always have to be a sort of very direct form, but like instigating something in a community or creating something with your friends, like you're giving something to each one of those people. And so I almost want to kind of attach that idea to what you've been talking about, because I think sometimes it can seem hard to do that, but actually there's ways, isn't there? I know your background in nursing obviously gave you that direction, but I think also doing a shoot with people, you know, the team that are on the shoot, everyone is learning something from that and they're all building. And if you share skills with someone, you know, maybe you'll bring them into that industry. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, maybe just talking more about that community idea or, you know, yeah, I mean, maybe you've already covered it. But.
I think, yeah, people really do underestimate and sometimes pigeonhole what like community means. Like often people say, oh, community give back, and people think, oh, let's go and feed children. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, community really is about the people that you're around, you know, common union, like what do we have, what do we share, what things do we have in common, and what are the things that bring us together. And it is stuff like events or parties, but it's also stuff like book clubs, it's also stuff like going to everyone's house or someone's house on a Sunday evening and being like, I'm gonna cook this week, or, you know, being willing to help people with their work or having like a study group. These are all mini communities that people build, and the more you invest in those spaces and really, you know, value those spaces, they will just grow. Maybe not in the way that you expect or in a defined way, but they do grow, you know, like even being willing to, as a third year, being willing to give back to maybe or support a first year with their work, or bring in, again, like a first year to one of your shoots, or ask one of your friends, you know, to help you out on a shoot, or you have nice style, come and be a stylist for my shoot. You know what I mean? These are all ways that we can build union with people that are around. And the more you do it, the more it grows, you know, like, again, like with our community that we're a part of, like it's been, again, like maybe like 10 years deep where we've just been like, oh, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And it's like, now we're all getting paid off doing things that we were doing just as friends. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, I would echo what Elsie said. And I'd say, I think you said this earlier as well, but don't underestimate working horizontally or working with each other. I think people always try and kind of like leap before they've walked or run and go for like someone they think can help pull them up, but you guys working together can pull yourselves up, because you guys literally are the future. And don't underestimate the power of working together, helping each other, and just being supportive of what each of you want to do.
Yeah.
I really like that idea of working horizontally. I've not heard that before, so I've learned two things. One was soft life and one was working horizontally. But I think like what's cool about that is that you find a way to name something, and in a way then you can really see it for what it is. So you can kind of tell yourself, actually what I'm doing is yes, I'm working horizontally, but I know what that is, you know, and that can help kind of remind you where you're not sure if it's all headed somewhere or not. But that's like a totally valid strategy for progress, you know. So I think sometimes being able to name it and then, you know, be able to relate to that in your work, as you explain what it is that you're doing, it's so key, because you're really explaining it to yourself, you know.
Yeah. Any more questions? No? It's okay?
Okay, brilliant. I think perhaps we'll wrap it up, and maybe we can just hang out just a little bit afterwards if you've got a moment.
Feel free if anyone has any work that they want to, you know, maybe submit as well to the mag, or something they want to show, like feel free to like come and talk to us, because we're here for
Yeah.
a few more
Let's
minutes.
do it. Thank you. We have a round of applause for our guests, TJ and Elsie. Thank you very much.